Hi, welcome to Growth Marketing Chat. Today I'm here with Amanda Cook. She is currently working at the third fast-growing B2B SaaS company. She's been in demand gen for a long time, and now she is the director of demand generation at Enable. Amanda, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So today we're going to talk about attribution, and that's kind of a love-hate relationship between marketers and attribution. We love having attribution, but at the same time, it's tricky, right? So why do you think there's that back and forth with attribution?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as marketers, we tend to have this balancing act between being really creative and also really analytical. And I think attribution tends to weigh a lot heavier on the analytical side. And it can really be beneficial to us because we can make really great decisions, and we can make sure that we're resourced properly. But at the same time, it's hard to do. I mean, there is a reason that attribution is kind of this holy grail concept that everybody wants to have. I like to think of an example of a billboard, right? If you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard, that can have incredible marketing impact, but there's no UTM parameters, there's no tracking links on that. So how do we capture attribution when our job is to create awareness throughout with these really creative ways? But a lot of times you can't track everything perfectly. So I think that's sort of why there is that love-hate, because we all want to make better decisions with our attribution, but it's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what would be your advice? Because obviously, you're in that demand gen position that you do need to be really creative to, accelerate your growth, but at the same time, you also need to obviously justify your choices and show traction and show results. So would be your advice for marketers, especially, early stage marketers that don't necessarily have like access to all the data and all the tools, right? What would be your advice to like set up a good attribution program or use the data in a smart way?
Yeah, great question. So I think the first part is to make sure that you're partnering with sales and that you are on the exact same page with sales. I think typically there tends to be some tension when it comes to attribution and who is bringing in an opportunity. Is it marketing and is it sales? I don't think it's an either or situation. I actually think it works best when we're working in tandem and not just through the, who can get the lead in the door, but who can actually we really both want to be influencing that entire customer journey. And so I think that's step one, is really making sure there's a partnership going on rather than competition between the two departments. And one way that we've been able to do that is setting up a few different really simple tracking mechanisms. So the first is, where are we actually getting our leads from? So we use a primary lead source, which would be like a larger bucket, like maybe paid media. And then we'll use a secondary lead source that would tell us whether that paid media is from Google, LinkedIn, or maybe a different paid media source. So then that tells us, okay, where are leads coming from? Then what we do is we track their first marketing engagement and their last marketing engagement. And so that tells us, okay, well, where are those leads coming into? What are they most attracted to? And what's the last thing they do before they become an opportunity? And we replicate that tracking mechanism for sales as well. So we can tell, maybe a phone call is really a great way to get a prospect on the line, and maybe having a booked meeting is the best thing to do before they become an actual opportunity. So I think by having those really simple tracking mechanisms, you can have what I've termed directional data, so that you can make the best choices based on this directional data. It's not perfect attribution by any means. It's not showing every single touch, but it's showing a lot of key touch points throughout the journey.
Yeah, and I think you really nailed it here, right? It's not perfect, and it's okay. You can still make decisions with imperfect data. Actually, most of the time, you have to make decisions with imperfect data.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you spend too much time waiting for data to be perfect, you're not actually able to course correct in a timely manner. So you're waiting often for the campaign to finish before you can actually analyze it. So this
Hmm.
allows you to really start making decisions while a campaign is in flight. So you can see, is this really doing well? So I should put more money or more resources behind it? Or is this failing and I should pull the plug on it now before I get to the end of the quarter and have to report on really bad data?
Right, right. No, that's a great point. So here we go. We just need to be a little bit less demanding with our attribution models, and then they should be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.